Welcome back. So, Historic Weeks tonight is back again, and not only that, so is videos back on the channel. So, thank you all for sticking with me, and for the 46 people that, for some reason, like this channel. And today, I was going through videos, and, there was an upset with, the ancient Egyptian video, so I'm going to go back through that. Now, I know this isn't the best thing that we could be doing right now. Hold on. What are you doing? Did you just put me picture in picture? What is that? Is that a video of Muselk? Alright, fine. Go ahead. Listen to the first part of this video, and you'll come back to me eventually.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, so I guess a video on the ancient Egyptians is better than listening to that annoying voice. So, where were we? Oh yes, ancient Egypt. So, everyone knows where Egypt is, hopefully. If not, we're going to be doing a segment by the world map anyway. So, Egypt is in Africa on the northeastern part of the world. And it started in 2649 BCE with the start of the Old Kingdom, where they built the pyramids, they built the Sphinx, and where they created pharaohs, which were basically what the people believed were people chosen by God to lead them, or they actually thought that they were gods. But the thing is that they had to act like a god too, not like a person. And they had to and because they lived by a river, they had to act like the river, so calm and gentle. Sorry for their loss. Imagine Donald Trump having to be very gentle and kind to everyone. What reality will we be in? So, what else? Also, if you're looking in the background, you'll see I have a brand new tripod. Well, if you look in NFL predictions with my grandpa, that grandpa had a tripod lying around, and when I asked for one for this Christmas, I thought I was going to be getting it at Christmas, but he decided to get it a bit early. So I thank him for that. I was going to use this for my gaming videos, but no one is wanting to get on. So, now that we're doing this, so where are we? Oh yeah, ancient Egypt. Old Kingdom, 2649 BCE, and it pretty much lasted from there. It lasted, about a couple dynasties, but we're not worrying about the dynasties right now. But, yeah, the Giza and the Sphinx were created, and it was a time where the Nile was good. They were getting really rich, and basically it was amazing. But when poverty and famine started coming and droughts caused their food to die, the pharaohs started getting into some arguments about who should be more powerful, and we end up at 2152 BCE in our first intermission. Then we enter the Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom is the area where Pharaoh, I'm not even going to pronounce that. Here's the word up there, right there. Yeah, see it? Yeah, he reunites Upper and Lower Egypt, which is kind of different than you would expect. And now that we're doing that, how about we head to the world map? So basically what it's like is that, since the Nile flows south to north, which is unlike most rivers in the world, if you go to the U.S., I live by the Licking River, which also does that. But since they believe that, they thought that since it flowed that way, that this was north and this was south. So they believe this was Upper Egypt right here, and this was Lower Egypt. Then you'll also enter other kingdoms like Nubia, and then later on the ancient Kush, which we'll get to later. Another thing about the Middle Kingdom is that they actually started moving some royal tombs north near the city of Memphis, Egypt. And it was also an area where the Egyptians started using the irrigation to carry the water from the Nile to their crops, which is really important for a river valley civilization. And not only that, the Egyptians, their river flooded yearly, and it was extremely precise on when it would flood. So it meant that they could, instead of ancient Mesopotamia, where the rivers were wild and crazy, like our current president, they started being, what's a good analogy to put this? It was like the oversimplified YouTuber where they're extremely calm and funny with everything they do. Pretty much. It's probably a bad analogy. You can yell at me in the comments down below. Anyway, another thing is that they loved to conquer an area called ancient Nubia, which Nubia was just down south in Sudan of ancient Egypt. And the thing with that is, Nubia has been lasting since 2500 BCE. And the one thing that ended everything is something we'll get into in a few, because after getting conquered by a couple people, the Middle Kingdom ended, and there was like a brief civil war during the second intermission period. But then in around 1550 BCE, we enter the New Kingdom, an area of great prosperity for ancient Egyptian civilization. During this time period, the pharaohs started to conquer more land for ancient Egypt, and they basically became an empire. There's Amos, who reunites all the kingdoms. Then there's someone you might recognize called Tutmosis, who became pharaoh, and was the first one to be buried in the Valley of the Kings. Eventually, unlike other pharaohs where their tombs were raided by ancient criminals, 20th century criminals ended up raiding King Tut's tomb. Technically not criminals, but scientists. And then it lasted for a ton of years, and Ramses II became pharaoh and would rule for 67 more years until we end up in our third intermission period. But the thing is that the thing with Egypt is that it's lasted the longest so far, pretty much, I'm pretty sure, tied with ancient China, which we'll get to that in 2 more videos, I'm pretty sure. But the New Kingdom comes to an end when Egypt becomes divided and Egypt's economy starts growing weaker, and then they're conquered by the Assyrian Empire, which I don't remember if we talked about that in Mesopotamia, but they were one of the first empires ever created, along with the Akkadian Empire. But they conquer Egypt, and then we end up with Nubia falling along the way, and then we end up with the ancient Kush. Now let's go to the whiteboard. This is where the tripod starts coming in handy. Yeah, so you see how the old, middle, and new kingdoms and the intermission periods and what dates they were. Sorry for my chicken scratch, but that's how it is right now. Here's Nubia's time period. It would also lasted pretty long, longer than any of these kingdom periods. Longest one. Think of it as a giant ass. And by that I mean a donkey. Then after that, the Kush took over and created these pyramids right there, which basically just looks like a Kong with a foot. Wait, I meant to say ice cream cone with a foot. Dang it, I'm ruining everything. Anyway, that's ancient Kush eventually started ransacking Egyptian cities and led to the fall of the Egyptian civilization. And then this is their basin irrigation. Basically, the waters would flood, fill up these basins, and then when it stopped flooding, they used that water for farming and for basically anything they needed the water for. But getting back to the Kush, they're basically in Sudan and South Sudan, where underneath Nubia, and then they started taking over Nubia and ransacking Egypt. But then we had some other areas of the world come in. Eventually, the Assyrians come in. Then then the Greeks. Then Alexander the Great with his with the Macedonian Empire. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember. Which creates the city of Alexandria, and then eventually, once Alexander the Great dies, the kingdoms of Egypt is back to itself until the Romans come in. And then we enter the Dark Ages and all that stuff, which we'll get into a later video. The thing with ancient Egypt is that it lasted the longest out of all the River Valley civilizations, and it's also the one we know most today because of that. So, the pyramids are one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world that are still around today, and it's the fact that they are still around, but people also think that King Tut and the pyramids were together at the same time. No. Pyramids were built in the Old Kingdom, so the time in the 2000s BCE. 1550 to 1070 is around the time King Tut was ruler. It was somewhere in that time period. I don't know his exact death date, but that was when it was. But the thing is that they all were pretty much similar, which makes it really hard to explain this to you guys. That's why it's really hard. And because of that, I am going to tell you this. Once we start getting into the other River Valley civilizations, it's going to get a lot harder. Like, our next one will be the Indus River Valley, which I'll show on the map up above. And it's mostly because, it's mostly because the Rosetta Stone, which I'll also talk about, is a stone that helped us learn other languages of other civilizations. It makes it really important to us. But the Indus River Valley, which is around this area right here, up in India and Pakistan, is going to be our next stop in the world when we talk about ancient River Valley civilizations. So, I'll see you in India.